Hey everyone, we are back for Sweetrobin's fanfiction project. We are dealing with the final finishing touches of John Con 2, but that chapter should be out soon. The John Con Arion John Con chapters came out much better than I could have ever expected. If The Real Winds of Winter is ever published, I would actually be surprised if the events around Storm's End are as exciting and fun as the chapters the project produced. I mean, I'd be pleasantly surprised, but still surprised. Which brings us to our next chapter, the conclusion of the White Raven saga, Samwell 1. So, Samwell is going to be a complicated but very exciting chapter. It'll probably be the most difficult chapter to date, but I think it could be truly great. It's also going to be a bit on the long side as a lot goes down, but try to keep the submissions to around 6,000 to 8,000 words. The chapter will begin from the perspective of a Lyseni character. His name or his profession will likely be the title of the chapter. You can choose his name and background. As a placeholder, we're just going to call him Dahan. Dahan was a character from End 7 Times Never Kill Man. Anyway, we're going to begin in his mind from his perspective, just like say in John 1 A Dance with Dragons, it being in Ghost's mind from Ghost's perspective. So Dahan will be found praying in his temple to his god, the pale child Bacalon, thinking that his god is speaking to him. The god is commanding him to rescue a wildling slave girl, a purchase of the merchant prince Tragar Armalin. Tragar, by the way, is the guy who is with Jorah's wife, Lyness Hightower. She's his concubine. Anyway, Dahan is 100% obedient to his god, but he's also very cocky and sure of himself. We want him very likable, but also a bit reckless. Maybe an Inigo Montoya kind of character. He believes he can rescue the wildling girl, but then starts thinking of all the rumors he's heard about her, including all of the sexual exotic stuff. Dahan's god will become very uncomfortable, and there will be a violent separation of minds. It's revealed that the god is Samwell, and he awakens, tasting blood, thinking that he's drowning in it, and remembering the warlock bath he was given as a child. Samwell looks up, expecting to see pale skin, bruised lips, instead sees a husky Robert Frey, his best friend at the Citadel. Sam screams that he needs to return, but Robert pulls him away from the glass candle, saying that he needs to eat, and that the two need to get drunk. This interaction is of course very similar to Jojen and Bran. Anyway, Robert and Sam then head to the Quill and Tankard to celebrate Pate's first link of his maester chain. Of course, we need to remember that Pate is Jock and Hagar. When they get to the Quill and Tankard, Pate is coolly enjoying a cider with Armin, Rune, and Melander. Sam and Robert sit, and the two discuss the situation in Old Town. And this is a good place to discuss what happened after Samwell 5, A Feast for Crows. Timeline-wise, it's been months since Samwell 5 and a fortnight since winter. Marwyn sailed off with the Cinnamon Wind with Gilly and Aemon Battleborn on board. Sam was devastated and has been trying to find Gilly, but do not mention glass candles yet. You can be creative here and talk about any politics you like at the Citadel, with Sam's friends, the Hightowers, whatever. However, the discussion must eventually steer towards the Ironborn. The Ironborn have been raiding the Straits for months now. The Arbor has been almost completely taken. The stories of how cruel the Ironborn have been are also getting out, though nobody knows yet who's going to win the battle between the Redwyne fleet and Euron's fleet. They heard that on the Arbor, Desmond Redwyne and his wife Denise Hightower were killed, as well as their son Dennis. And Laurent Tyrell is also dead. In the Forsaken chapter, we hear about Hightower's, Tyrell's, and Redwyne's dying on the Isle of Pigs, so this is them. On top of this, we find out that Lord Paxter's daughter, Desmara, has been captured. This hits Sam pretty hard, as he was once almost betrothed to Desmara. Sam looks about the Quill and Tankard and sees Aleros, but he's not sitting with them. Instead, he's speaking with a pale man with thin hair who looks like a wight. He wears a ragged leather coat. This is Urswick the Faithful, by the way. The table tries to return to happier subjects, and they ask how Pate managed to finally get a Black Iron Ravenry link. Pate says that he spends much of his time with Archmaester Walgrave, and in between him changing his soiled small clothes, the man does often speak of Ravencraft. Pate made a request to Maester Gorman to be retested, and even though Gorman despises Pate, he did agree. Then, lo and behold, on the day of the test, Maester Gorman had found himself rather ill and spent the day in the privy, and so Maester Walder administered the test instead, and Pate passed. The next day, Sam is walking about the Citadel and is invited to study with Armin, and though Sam would secretly love to study with his friend Armin and enjoys his insights, Sam claims that he finds studying alone to be more rewarding, and wants to return to his chambers. However, instead, he walks down many flights of stairs to an old abandoned storage room beneath the Citadel. And inside he finds Aleros, Robert Frey, Lazy Leo, and Pate. Robert has dubbed their secret group the Order of the Nightwalkers. The Order meets once a fortnight. The 5 of them have been using the glass candle to look around the kingdom and are reporting to each other on what they're seeing. And so here we're going to have a little pseudo small council scene. So we want some really fun dialogue. Remember that Lazy Leo is an ass. Pate is really Jaqen H'ghar trying to act like Pate, and Aleros is really Sorella. And there's a lot of opportunity to have some great conversation and get updates from parts of the world. If you come up with something that you think is really interesting that they should report on, please add it. But also keep in mind that the way they're getting their information is by entering people's minds. We need to hear about who their mind victim is, and going forward in the story, those mind victims are going to be suspicious characters because they might later be altered by the Order of the Nightwalkers. If you want some specifics on how the glass candles work, essentially one can scan the earth from up high, but if one wants any detail, one has to join a mind. Entering a mind is difficult at first and can only be done when the person is sleeping, but over time it becomes easier. This is a bit like Bran entering Hodor. Eventually one can see through their eyes even when they're awake. However, the glass candles only seem to work at night. And right now, only Sam seems to know that you can speak to your victim and alter their thoughts. And so Robert Frey is the first to report. He says that he scanned over the Riverlands to check for the safety of his family, and after walking the disturbing dreams of old Walder Frey, Robert was surprised that his parents were not at the Twins, and that he learned that his close kin had traveled to Derry. At Derry, he found himself in the mind of Sir John Betley, and he found that many Freys were gathering at Derry. He saw Oliver, Danwell, Alisander, and his cousin Amy styles herself Lady of the Castle and seems to be fucking a man named Strongbore. Robert's report is derided by Lazy Leo as a waste of time. He says that there are so many Freys that it makes no matter, that one weasel is comparable to another. Robert hasn't provided anything useful, Leo claims. Pate, that is Jaqen H'ghar, will go next. He says that he's scanned north of the wall for miles and miles, but there were few people to be found. He walked the dreams of a woman named Daya. The woman is raped and beaten nearly every day by her captors, who are 4 men dressed in black. She curses them every day: Bill, Carl, Dirk, Os. She prays for their deaths and her own. Sam, of course, knows these men as brothers of the Night's Watch and Daya as Gilly's sister, but he will ask Pate if he saw any army of the dead or the others. Pate will say he scanned many miles but did not find any army. There was nothing north of the wall, and the rest of the Order will look at Sam like he's nuts. They have been patient with him during these meetings, but none of them have been able to find any dead men or others north of the wall, just empty wilderness. Lazy Leo will go next and say that he actually has information of use. He walked the dreams of a man named Watkins, that is Harry Strickland's squire. John Connington has been victorious at Storm's End. He holds the castle. A Tyrell host marches south, but they lack cavalry, and Connington will likely defeat them too. Aleros will comment that Leo almost seems pleased, and Leo will shrug and say that Connington's cause has the greatest chance of succeeding. Once he takes King's Landing, Prince Aegon will welcome the Dragon Queen home as his bride. Robert will question that. Is that what we want? Dragons and Targaryens back in Westeros? And Sam will say yes, that the dragons can be used against the army of the dead. He will remember Aemon's words: Daenerys is our hope. The group will groan with Sam's talk of the others, and Aleros will say that the Citadel will be against Daenerys. They fear dragons and magic. But Leo will think that the Citadel will not have much choice but to accept her. There's far too much chaos in the realm, and what Westeros needs is an iron fist to keep its subjects in line. Or barring a fist, Dragon's Flame. Leo then asks Sam where Daenerys is, as he knows Sam has been looking across the narrow sea. Sam says that looking east is more difficult than gazing north for some reason, and that joining with a mind that speaks High Valyrian can be disorienting. But in Lyce he has been walking the dreams of Dahan, and that Dahan has eyes on Traegar or Malin. Perhaps Dahan is a guard or a cook or a politician. Write whatever you think works. Leo will become angry, saying that Sam already reported on Traegar or Malin. Weeks ago he provided Humphrey Hightower with cell sails to help with the Ironborn. Why is Sam still lingering in Lyce? Move on to Meereen or at least Volantis. Leo would do it himself, except his High Valyrian is horrible. Alaris adds that hers is as well, though Sam finds that unlikely. Sam considers telling them all about Gilly and Lyse, but doesn't want to reveal to them that he broke his Night's Watch vow. Instead, he blurts out a rumor that perhaps one of Robert's bastards is hiding with Traegar or Malin, that is, Edric Storm. This sparks some interest with the Order, as Lynesse Hightower is Traegar's concubine, and they wonder if the Hightowers are considering another claimant to the Iron Throne, though they quickly dismiss this as a king can only remove the taint of bastardy, and why would a king legitimize a potential rival? Alaris is the last to go, and he reports that he walked the dreams of Elena Westerling at the crag. The girl mourns, as Lord and Lady Westerling have been murdered, along with her uncle, and their friend John, that is, Maester John Vance. Robert and even Lazy Leo will show signs of distress, but Pate will show no reaction. Sam will think about how he lost to John, and here we can talk about the White Raven situation. Previously, Sam had actually walked in the mind of Clytus. He saw that the steward had met with Bowen Marsh and others. Half the watch was in on the conspiracy. Clytus had been brewing strong wine. They spoke of using the giant as a distraction. John would be drugged, dumb, clumsy. But what could Sam do? He was thousands of miles away, but he needed to warn John. He could send a raven, but Clytus would hide the message. He was lost until Pate mentioned that the Archmaesters had been coming and going from the White Rookery. Winter was soon to be upon them. If a white raven was seen coming into Castle Black, it would need to be brought to the Lord Commander. And so with the help of Pate, Sam sat with Castle Black's white raven and trained it to say the words, "John, beware marsh, beware wine." The raven repeats the words, but soon after returning it to its cage, another white raven mimics John, and then a third. However, he was too late. Sam was watching through Clytus's eyes as he looked over the pink letter and resealed its pink wax. He screamed stop, but Clytus could either not hear him or would not listen. And through Clytus's eyes, he saw John stabbed. Sorrow pulls Sam back to Old Town with the taste of blood in his mouth, and the thought of returning to Castle Black has been too much for Sam. And so Pate had been looking north instead. Not that Sam had the time, as he's been looking for Gilly. The thoughts of Gilly make Sam want to return to Lyse, and so that night he sits in front of the glass candle and enters the mind of Dahan. And so for this final part, it's up to you to have a little story with Dahan's rescue attempt of the wildling girl at Traegar's manse. Yes, this is a parallel to Theon and Jane Poole, but there should be plenty of hijinks. Dahan can have a colorful crew, he can be alone, whatever you like. It is a heist, so make it a bit fun. I only ask that Traegar and Lynesse make an appearance at some point, and in the end, the wildling girl to not be Gilly, but in fact, a wildling girl from Hardhome. And of course, Dahan needs to die in the end. And so good luck with writing, thanks again, and we'll see you next time.